GM, GM, GM. I want to look at the alts on a lower time frame, or just the market, sorry. So total cap is broken out, very nice, led by Bitcoin. Total 2, lagging, which is led by Ethereum, which is what you want to see. Total 3 was already leading from a few days ago and is now lagging. So you can see total much cleaner, breakout. Total 3 has kind of false breakout. That's totally fine. It's exactly what you want to see. Bitcoin dominance is just cooling off a little bit after its first push here. You have to kind of zoom out to the weekly to get Bitcoin dominance that looks good. Although I think it's still fine. I'm not as bullish on BTCD as some people are. I think Bitcoin dominance is very, very close to a cycle top, and that once it does, that's it. It will just go down only, and it will go to new lows. I think it's almost certain that Bitcoin dominance goes to new lows this cycle, because look at 2021, or sorry, look at 2017, right? This was all the way as Bitcoin ran up. It's 2017. It's all the way into fucking right until the end of January when the altcoin market topped. Why did the dominance drop so much? Because alts were much newer and they were getting accepted and people were getting long, right? And so even though Bitcoin's price, you know what happened to Bitcoin here. Bitcoin went from fucking 3K to 20K. So Bitcoin dominance doesn't have any relation on the Bitcoin price. It's the relative share. And then Bitcoin had its run through the bear market. That's where Bitcoin strengthens. So from the peak, literally the peak, January 18, peak of the altcoin market, until mid to late 2019, Bitcoin had its dominance run. Then we had a little run of dominance weakening as the market ran up into COVID and alts went higher. Then we had COVID, a little bit of a brief return back to Bitcoin, right back into the alts. Again, Bitcoin had a brief little run when it went to all-time high, and then away we go. So what you're more likely to see is something a bit like this, where you get like a double dip, double push on BTC. Everyone thinks it's going to be around the halving. I think the halving is such a non-event for Bitcoin in terms of price. This is going to trap normies. This is why I think we go higher. I think we go higher short term, and we see Bitcoin do really well in January, really well, maybe even into February, depending on the ETF. You know, if they approve them and say they're going to trade, first week of Feb, I think Bitcoin does the majority of its gains here in dominance terms. And from there, it just starts to kind of grind up, right? So, yeah, we could see a last push, right? And then it sells off. Okay, well, actually, because this is a weekly chart, the halving is around here. I think by that point, Bitcoin will already be on the way down, right? And it won't bounce into the halving. And Bitcoin will have its next move of dominance, whenever that might be, at some point later this year, next year, whatever. And then that's just it. And then it goes all the way down. And that's the way it's supposed to be, because the market's growing, right? The whole pie is growing. If crypto is getting bigger as an asset class, and we go to 10 trillion, let's just say like in peak bull scenario, we go to 10 trillion total cap, and we're at 1.7 right now. So that's like a 7-8x growth of the whole sector, about 7x. It's not going to put Bitcoin, most likely, as much as I'd love it, it's not going to put Bitcoin at 300K. So that growth will come from altcoins as well, and probably predominantly altcoins. Bitcoin, if it went to 150, would be 3 trillion. The rest of the market would then have to be 7 trillion, which is bigger, but that would put Bitcoin at literally 30% dominance, which is down here, which is not impossible. We've gotten as low as 36 before. So these are all important calculations to take in, because when you're looking at what are the flows that are going to come in, like the market doesn't go up by magic. It's all relative to Bitcoin. So if you reach, like, say you reach a 5 trillion total market cap and Bitcoin's dominance remains at 50, right? That means Bitcoin itself is half of the cap. So if it's 50% dominance at 5 trillion, that's 2.5 trillion. That means Bitcoin is 125k per coin. That means there's 2.5 trillion left for the rest of the market. So you have to extrapolate that and say that's going to affect how much Ethereum can be worth, how much Solana can be worth, and whatever new coins there are. And that would still be like, even that would be amazing, right? That would leave 2.5 trillion for the rest of the market. So last time we peaked at 1.7. So that would mean total 2 grows to 2.5. So then you're looking at Ethereum probably growing to like 6k, Solana probably going to 700, 800, 900, maybe even 1,000, whatever. But you're not seeing like Ethereum 10k, like you're not seeing it in that scenario. But if you have the exact same thing, you have 5 trillion, but Bitcoin dominance goes to 30, let's say 35, where it has been before, that's a big difference, right? That will put Bitcoin as about a 2 trillion, not 2.5. And so there's an extra 0.5 trillion that's flowing into alts, actually slightly more, but you get the point. That means the total 2 goes to 3 trillion, not 2.5. And that's big. That's almost double, right? You went from 1.68 to 3. That's about 80, 90% increase. And that's where you start to see Ethereum 8, 9k. So you start to see Solana breaking 1,000 quite comfortably. And you see a lot of growth in your smaller caps. Even as the biggest Bitcoin maxi who thinks that everything else is pretty much a scam, there's nothing I want more than a big dominance run on alts. We all do. Because my conviction on Bitcoin long term doesn't waver. I think Bitcoin's a slower moving thing because everyone tries to get rich quickly with Bitcoin and they're missing the game. So here's the point of this video and my main point to make, I guess. Everyone thinks that Bitcoin has to go to 250, 500 million dollars, right? It's all these targets that are always super high. I mean, the minimum target anyone had last cycle was 100k, and we didn't get anywhere near it. I think we smashed that this cycle, but we really underperformed last cycle. If things get really crazy with money printing, Bitcoin can go to 200k this cycle, sure. I know, and that's not from me, that's from many credible people, both in macro and in crypto. I'm not saying that will happen, it can. The point is, people forget that Bitcoin is inevitable. It's going to happen, right? It doesn't have to happen between now and June 2025 or whatever. Just like Bitcoin didn't have to go to 100k last time, because it's going to get there eventually. It's going to rise up and to the right, higher lows all the way over the next 10 years. And the reason that's even more likely than any kind of massive rapid appreciation is because there's a lot of retail owners of Bitcoin. There's a lot of everyday people who are super maxis on Bitcoin and they need to get shaken out. Right? The elites, this is, Bitcoin's becoming a tool for the elites. It's becoming like a battle against nations. And if that's the game, they're going to play it like they played gold. They're going to manipulate it and play it slow. It's still inevitable. You can't beat supply and demand long term. But if it goes more slowly, it'll shake out more retail along the way. Right? The person who thinks Bitcoin is the best and buys a bunch of Bitcoin, but then sees Bitcoin go to, 78k, 80k, and Ethereum's at 10k, and Solana's at 1,000. And they're like, oh, Bitcoin, it's so shit, it's so slow. Everything else is 10x. Bitcoin is going up like 2x. And they get impatient and they sell their precious Bitcoin right at the top and go into some dog shit alt that gets wrecked. So over time, just like the stock market always goes up and to the right, but individual stocks will go 100x. That's more like crypto, right? Bitcoin up and to the right. Bitcoin is the one that won't die. Bitcoin is, anti-fragile and all that. Altcoins are the way to get rich. Right? People have this wrong. The maxis. If you're actually a Bitcoin maxi, which I am, you should not care about the price of Bitcoin. Right? If you believe in Bitcoin and you think it's genuinely digital gold, then as long as it's going up and to the right, it's doing its job. But if you're like, no, it has to go to 250k because of this rainbow chart and spiral and blah, you're just you're not actually a Bitcoiner. You're just an altcoiner. You're just a crypto moon boy. So, and that's literally me. Not that guy, the first guy, the one who loves Bitcoin but doesn't care about the price. Because if you want to get rich in crypto, you buy alts, right? The way to get rich in crypto with Bitcoin is to buy it, hold it, never sell it, and you'll be one of the richest people in the world in future. And that's the belief. If you can buy any amount of Bitcoin, the idea is there's not enough Bitcoin. If you buy any amount of it, the vast majority of the world will never be able to buy it, or will be too dumb and stupid to even buy it. And by the time they know about it, it's going to be $1 million a coin. And relatively, you will own a piece of the biggest financial asset on the planet. And other people won't own it, and you won't sell it, because it'll be stable at $1 million a coin, like gold, and it'll be there for 5,000 years. That's the idea, right? So if that's the idea, then Bitcoin's your savings account. All this other shit is a way to get rich. It's a way to get rich in dog shit fiat along the way, and then convert it back to Bitcoin. So yeah, I expect Bitcoin dominance to go to new lows this cycle. And I think that's a big one to watch. And if you do see that, you're going to see some big alt moves. But don't forget that that's always temporary. I don't think alts are going to replace Bitcoin. I think some of them are real tech. They're good companies, etc. But they're not Bitcoin, and they never will be. And I don't think the game will change that much. I don't think the game will suddenly change to where people value something more than Bitcoin. I don't think that can happen. There can be more use case, and this is where people fuck it up too. There can be more use case in an altcoin, but that's not value, right? So if you see this too, important thing to be aware. If you see people like shitting on Bitcoin saying it doesn't do anything, the tech is slow and blah, 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 understand they're super uneducated and that you should educate yourself. Bitcoin doing nothing is a feature, not a bug. Its place in the world is just like gold. Yeah, you can make jewelry out of gold, but mostly gold has value because it doesn't do much and it's a shiny rock that is very scarce. Bitcoin's like that, except 10 times better. So look for your use case in everything else. Don't worry about a use case on Bitcoin and all this stuff of ordinals and Bitcoin, DeFi. That's all good. If it happens, great. It's going to make the miners a lot of money, which is good. We need that. But don't overly focus on it. Now, with that being said, I am long multibit again because I'll ride the hype. And multibit had a really nice reclaim last night on the daily. Nice reclaim of its daily trend, which is now inflecting upwards again. I talked about this. We had a 58% pullback. That's more than enough. Not only that, we swept out a low. So price attempted to go lower, took that out. Some people panicked. I was also watching the tape, and there was a few mid six-figure buys come in. So some big buyers coming in at the lows again. There was also some 500,000 buys back over here. So it's all sitting pretty nicely. There's rumors of a Binance listing, which we'll wait and see. And yeah, otherwise, that's my main altcoin. I didn't not touching Pepe coin. Pepe itself still long as I have been. Pepe is starting to show a bit of life. This frog's moving slow, but I think when this frog gets going, the frog's going to run hard. So that's it. GM, gonna go. Have to travel now. GM. Talk soon.